why did I want to become a flight attendant? So before this, I was really struggling with what I wanted to do with my future. I was working at an office job and it was a very easy, paid decently well, and I wasn't really doing much all day. There wasn't really much of a challenge. I was kind of living the life, you know, just paying rent, just getting by. I was also trying to go to school at the same time, but going to school part-time was really a struggle. I was just taking classes. Sometimes I'd drop the classes and then it would cost money, and it was just drama. I was really going to school originally to become a physical therapist, and I worked at a chiropractor's office, and I decided I do not want to touch people. I decided that maybe I wanted to become a teacher, and that's something I still want to do. So I was looking up, you know, jobs that allow you to travel, because that's one of the incentives I wanted to do to become an ESL teacher. I wanted to teach in another countries, somewhere in Europe or in Asia. And then I came across becoming a flight attendant. And I started watching like a whole bunch of flight attendants YouTube channels. And I was like, you know what, let me look into this. I applied to a couple different airlines, and pretty much the first one that offered me the job, I took it. And then training was about 3.5 weeks. It was a lot. It was interesting. It's not something I'm super excited to do again, because a lot of people have asked me, you know, when are you going mainline? When are you gonna go to a bigger airline? And I'm just so not excited to do that training all over again. And after the 6 months, I finally got based in my hometown, which is South Florida. So I'm still on reserve. So I'd rather be on reserve in my hometown than in some new city where I had to deal with the whole crash pad thing all over again. So I'm pretty comfortable where I'm at right now. And I'm pretty happy with what's going on. I enjoy doing what I do. I really do. I do enjoy the work. It's been pretty great, so that's good. And I've worked with some good people that I ended up becoming friends with, so that's also good. Training was about 3.5 weeks. They fly you out to the city that their training is based in. They put you up in a hotel and you have a roommate. I was so nervous about who my roommate was gonna be. Anything that these YouTube videos tell you about is how traumatic your roommate in training can be. And I was so lucky that my roommate was just amazing. This woman named Shannon, and she's a vegan or a vegetarian, whatever, and she was just the sweetest lady on earth. She would wake up at like 4 o'clock in the morning to go running, and that was just so convenient to me because we'd always have to wake up that early anyway. I would just take that time to use the bathroom to do my makeup and get ready. So not having to really bump into each other that early in the morning was really great. Also, she would go to bed super early, and she was the hardest sleeper. She would just be in the middle of a conversation and I'd be like, Shannon, and she'd be just sleeping, barely even snoring. I never felt like I was disturbing her while I was up pretty late, and I never felt like we really got in each other's way. She was just a super sweet, and I was just so lucky to have her as a roommate. Now, as far as the training process goes, so there's so many different parts of it. So first day, as far as the one I went to, there is the initial test, and pretty much if you don't pass this initial test, like, they send you home. And my class was a small class. It started with 30 people. Then in that first test, 2 people ended up dropping out. One just said this wasn't for her. I don't know how you can show up and then decide it's not for you. The person didn't pass the test. And I don't know how you didn't pass that test because it was so easy. And before we showed up, they gave us these questions. It was literally just a repetition of the same test we were practicing before we showed up. First day of training, and I passed my first test. Congrats! And now I'm just taking a walk. I have an hour lunch break. Gave us some free lunch. And now I'm just taking a nice walk to stretch my legs and stuff, so I can go back and listen to them talk for another couple of hours. We're gonna be doing the drug testing soon. I'm excited. I like my class. and I am ready to get my wings already. We got about 23 more days to go, so it's not over yet. It's only just the beginning. And they tell us about what we're going to be expecting, the syllabus of the class, and what's going to be happening for the next 3.5 weeks, and what's expected of us, the dress code, and things like that. So the dress code for us was flight attire, which they say is a white collared button up with a black blazer. You don't have to have the black blazer. Black pants, cannot be jeans, and black closed-toe shoes. When it's not necessary flight attire, it's still business casual, and you also have to have closed-toe shoes. And there were some days where some girls would be wearing some tight little dresses with some stockings, and it was like,
damn, who raised you?
Schedule, like, now that I've been a flight attendant, I kind of understand why they did that to us, because it was a hot mess. We would get out of class at like 11 o'clock, and then we'd have to be back at like 7 o'clock in the morning. So, you know, we had to wake up at like 5:30 and then catch like a 6:30 bus or something like that. And we got in 6 hours before. So it would be things like that. And then when it came to the testing and the courses, our instructors, I had so many complaints about this, where they would just run through the course, and it's like, if you had any questions, it'd be like, check your manual, check your manual. And it's just like, why are you here if we just need to check our manuals? It just kind of de-incentivizes you to ask any questions, to participate in class, which was really annoying. We would have, say, a class on policy procedures or the aircraft descriptions, and then we'd have a test the next morning. So everybody would go home and we'd all have to study, and then the test would be the next day. And then sometimes we would get to class the next day and we're learning something new, and the test from yesterday is after that. So you have all this new knowledge that you got to study because there's a test the next day, and you have to take a test on what you learned the day before. And you can only fail, I believe, 3 tests, and then they kick you out. The only thing that made me get away with getting such good grades on the test was the fact that the tests were, the multiple choice almost gave it to you. It's kind of like A and B were like these nonsensical answers, and then you're like, okay, so it has to be C. It could be D, but I definitely know it's C. And what also helped me was the fact that I had a study buddy. This girl that I met on day 1, Amanda, that's the homie, I call her day 1, and we just studied together, and we made sure we were both on point, and she was just really on point. So, because I'm definitely a loner, I didn't want to have to study with anybody, so I would kind of like avoid it, but then she'd hit me up and call me like, hey, you coming over to study? And then I'm like, all right, I'm coming. And it definitely made a difference, because sometimes we would argue about what the answer for something was, and then because we argued about it, it's stuck in your brain, and then when that would be on the test, it's like, oh, I remember exactly what this is because me and Amanda argued about it. Training, it was just a lot. And then you have the drills where you have to learn emergency evacuations, and you have to learn the different parts of the doors, and that part was really annoying because we didn't really have that much time actually physically touching the doors. At one point, there would be the instructor that would show us the doors, and then we also have like videos where they show us exactly what we do. So we would literally put sticky notes on the doors in our hotel rooms and pretend those were the airplane doors and practice on those. So I don't know if you can imagine that. I don't know if you don't know what I'm talking about, if you can even understand what I'm trying to tell you, but I think that was probably the hardest part because it's just so nerve-wracking and you really can't get it wrong. I mean, I heard some people fail and they still pass, which I think is messed up. So, but yeah, and I do know that for the bigger airlines, they have it a lot harder because they have more doors because they have a bigger plane. They have like that middle door. So it's just, It's very nerve-wracking, but I kind of see why they would do something like that. Like, if you cannot get through that, then you probably shouldn't become a flight attendant. Graduating was very anticlimactic for a lot of us because we just wanted to go. We're like, oh yay, like we got this, but like let's go home. I'm ready to go. Like we ain't trying to be here any much longer. And you know, that last day is when all like the big corporate people want to come in and talk to you, and it's like, yo, we don't care about y'all. Like we just trying to go home. Give us our wings. We out. In the next video, I'm gonna talk about what crash pads are like. So if you get assigned to base and it ain't home, it is the struggle of a lifetime.